It is not just a house. It is an iceberg. 90% of what makes the White House function lies hidden beneath the ground. Tunnels, bunkers, mechanical systems, and a command center built to survive a nuclear blast, all buried under the most famous address in America. You think you know this building. You do not. To understand the heart of American power, we must go back 233 years. Not to a grand ceremony or a famous speech. We go back to mud. The impossible choice. George Washington stood on an undeveloped stretch of land along the Potomac River. It was a swamp, mosquito-infested, humid, and completely unprepared for a national capital. But Washington saw something no one else could see. He chose this place not for what it was, but for what it could become. In October 1792, the first earth was moved. No machines, no diesel engines, just muscle, human and animal. The architect was James Hoban, an Irish immigrant who won a design competition with a prize of $500 and a gold medal. His vision, the largest stone house in America, rising from a land of wooden cabins. The secret cornerstone. The cornerstone was laid in a secret ceremony by the Freemasons. To this day, no one knows exactly where it is buried beneath the foundation. Some say it was a ritual, others say it was political theater. What is certain is that the house was built by everyone: enslaved laborers, free African Americans, European immigrants, and local tradesmen. Every inch of that foundation was won with human sweat. The material that made it possible. The stone came from Aquia Creek, Virginia. It is a soft, porous sandstone, easy to carve but incredibly heavy to move. Expert stonemasons were brought from Scotland, then considered the best in the world. Every single flower, leaf, and decorative element on the exterior was carved by hand. It took years to finish the ornaments. To make mortar, workers burned oyster shells to create lime. The heat was intense, the smell was unbearable. By 1795, the shell of the house was finally taking shape. The hidden weakness. The interior skeleton is all wood. Massive timber beams, hand-cut and joined, form the structure that holds up the stone walls. It is beautiful craftsmanship, but it is also a ticking bomb. Wood burns, wood rots, wood flexes and sags. That wooden skeleton would nearly destroy the White House not once, but multiple times over the next century and a half. Waterproofing with death. The 1790s waterproofing technique was primitive and deadly. Workers poured molten lead into joints and seams to keep rain out. The lead vapor poisoned the air, but it was the only technology available to seal the porous stone against Washington's humid summers. Glass was a luxury. Most windows were imported from Europe. Half of them shattered before ever reaching the construction site. Horsehair was mixed into the plaster to prevent cracking, a technique still visible in surviving original sections. A freezing arrival. It's November 1800. The house is freezing. The paint is not even dry. President John Adams arrives to find that out of 36 rooms, only 6 are livable. First Lady Abigail Adams uses the Grand East Room to dry the family's laundry. Cooking is done over open flames. There's no running water, no electricity, no central heat, just wood, iron, and fire. The East Room would not be fully finished for another 20 years. For now, it's a cavern of empty promises. Jefferson's upgrades. Jefferson arrives in 1801. He adds the first wings to the house, not for offices, but for ice, meat, and wine. The hidden machinery of the mansion begins to take shape. In 1804, Jefferson installs the first indoor toilet. No more midnight walks to the garden. Jefferson was a technology enthusiast for his era. He understood that the house needed to evolve. By 1810, after nearly 2 decades of construction, the White House is finally finished. It will last only 4 years before it burns to the ground. The British are coming. August 1814. The War of 1812 has reached Washington. British troops march on the Capitol. First Lady Dolly Madison refuses to leave until the famous portrait of George Washington is cut from its frame and carried to safety. The British soldiers arrive. They eat the dinner prepared for the president. They toast their king with the president's wine. Then they prepare to burn it all. The Inferno. The wooden skeleton becomes an oven. The heat is so intense that the sandstone begins to crack and spall. Furniture, books, historical records, all gone in seconds. The British don't just want to win, they want to erase the heart of the American capital. Then something strange happens. A freak storm, a tornado or hurricane, historical accounts differ, sweeps through Washington. Rain pours down, the winds howl, the fires are extinguished. Nature tried to save the house, but the interior is gone. Only the cracked, smoke-stained stone shell remains. The decision to rebuild. Some wanted to abandon Washington entirely, move the capital to Cincinnati, safe from British ships. But President James Monroe understood something critical. If the Republic was to survive, this house had to rise again. James Hoban, now older, is hired to rebuild his masterpiece from the grave of the original. But the smoke stains could not be removed. The fire had burned too hot and penetrated too deep. The house was permanently scarred. This is the moment they painted it white, not for style, but to hide the fire damage. The White House was born from ashes and paint. Rebuilding the same flaw. They rebuilt the house exactly as it was. Same layout, same materials, same dangerous wooden skeleton trapped inside a stone box. The heating system of 1815 meant more fireplaces, more smoke, and more risk. President James Monroe wanted elegance. French style became the new goal. The house was becoming a palace, not just a home. Gold leaf, grand staircases, and the famous blue room ceiling, a crown for the most important room in the house. Slow modernization. Running water arrived in 1833, no more buckets from the lawn. Gas lighting replaced candles in 1848, no more open flames, but the air grew heavy with fumes. Coal-fired heat made fireplaces decorative by 1870. In 1991, electricity arrived. President Benjamin Harrison was too afraid to touch the light switches. He left them on all night rather than risk a shock. But through all these upgrades, the wooden skeleton aged. By 1900, it was already struggling under the weight of a century of modifications. Offices and crowding. The White House was never designed to be the center of a global superpower. By 1902, it was a mess, cramped, disorganized, and bursting with staff. President Theodore Roosevelt moved offices to a temporary building that was supposed to last a few years. It is still there today. That temporary building became the West Wing. The Oval Office was added in 1909. President William Howard Taft wanted an office that fit the job, a room with no corners where visitors could hide. The Resolute Desk, a gift from Queen Victoria carved from a British ship, arrived soon after. The house is dying. By 1927, the wooden skeleton was rotting away. The roof was literally decaying. The stone walls were spreading under the weight. Every time a truck passed on the street outside, the house groaned. A piano almost fell through the floor of the family quarters. The White House was officially condemned. It was unsafe for the president to live there. Truman's bold decision. President Harry Truman faced an impossible choice. Some advisors wanted to demolish the house entirely and start over, but the stone shell was too iconic, too woven into American identity to destroy. Instead, Truman ordered something never attempted before, a complete gut renovation. Every interior wall, every floor, every wooden beam would be removed. Only the exterior stone walls would remain. Building within a building. Workers cut a hole in the floor of the Red Room and lowered a bulldozer into the basement. The image is surreal, construction equipment where presidents once hosted dignitaries. Engineers anchored the house to bedrock, stopping the century-long sinking into the swamp. They built a new skeleton, this time from reinforced concrete and steel. The White House became a building within a building. The old stone shell became a facade, a mask, a memory. Modern systems hidden from view. The renovation added everything the house had lacked: central air conditioning, modern plumbing for every room, miles of electrical wiring, and multiple escape routes. The iconic exterior remained unchanged, but inside, the White House was reborn as a 20th century structure. The project took 4 years and cost $6 million. The Trumans lived across the street at Blair House while workers gutted their home. When they finally moved back in 1952, the house was no longer sinking. It was no longer a fire trap. It was immortal. The secret bunker. During World War II, something else was happening beneath the White House, something the public would not learn about for decades. Workers dug through DC clay in secret, building the Presidential Emergency Operations Center, a bunker designed to survive a nuclear blast. The White House now had a basement that could protect the president from almost anything. A 760-foot tunnel was dug, connecting the East Wing to the Treasury Building. FDR used it during the war. Later presidents would use it on September 11, 2001. The modern era. Every president since Truman has added something. The Situation Room was created in 1961 after the Bay of Pigs failure. Real-time intelligence became the priority. The first energy-efficient windows arrived in the 1970s. The digital revolution entered the West Wing in the 1990s. Today, the White House is a city under one roof. It has its own power plant, water treatment system, medical clinic, and food service capable of feeding 200 people at a state dinner. It has a bowling alley, a movie theater, and a swimming pool hidden beneath the press briefing room floor. 90% of what makes this house work is invisible, buried, secret. 233 years of resilience. This house has been burned, condemned, gutted, and rebuilt. It has survived structural collapse, assassination attempts, and the constant weight of history pressing down on its walls. The stone shell that George Washington chose from a swamp still stands. The wooden skeleton that nearly killed the house is gone, replaced by steel and concrete. The fires of 1814 are a memory, but the white paint that covered the smoke stains became an icon. The White House looks like 1800, it feels like 1950, but it is built for 2030 and beyond. The Iceberg Principle. When you see the president wave from the famous porch, you are looking at less than 10% of the structure. Beneath your feet, hidden from cameras and crowds, lies the real White House. Tunnels, bunkers, mechanical systems, and a command center that could run the country through almost any disaster. It is not just a house, it is an iceberg. And after 233 years of grit, fire, and steel, it is still the center of the world. The White House has died and been reborn 5 times. Each time, engineers and builders found a way to save it, not by preserving the past, but by rebuilding it stronger, smarter, and more resilient. That's the story of human ingenuity. Not avoiding failure, but surviving it, learning from it, coming back better. If you want to understand how the world's most complex structures are built, maintained, and reborn, from presidential palaces to underwater tunnels to the bridges that connect continents, subscribe to Quit Tech Process. We go beneath the surface, we find the hidden 90%, and we show you how the impossible becomes real. Hit subscribe, join the journey. The next impossible project is already underway.